Okay, CC students, the next thing I want to talk to you about is something that comes up every year, and it's something that is a difficult concept that I think that we should talk about regarding what is the indictment and what does that mean. Your CC packet defines in the glossary the indictment is the official charge against the defendant. So this is the charge that has been lodged by a grand jury against the defendant. And if you remember when I talked about the criminal procedure process in the criminal procedure video, I talked about that charges could be filed by an information, which is just a piece of paper, by the DA, or by a grand jury through the form of a group of citizens. I didn't talk about that, but a grand jury is a group of citizens who hear evidence from the police and the prosecution, and they return a document being the official charges against an individual. So you hear about people being indicted, it means they've been charged. They've been charged. In your mock trial, the defendant has been indicted. They have an indictment filed against them, and you can find that in your mock trial packet. And within your mock trial packet, you read the indictment, and the first thing that you're going to say is, what are the charges? And who are the charges against, okay? I want to give you an example, but I don't want to use the one from the mock trial notebook because you're going to work on that. And so we're not going to get into that one. I'm going to do a separate one. This is one that I made up here. And it's a hypothetical. It says, it's we, the grand jury, charge the defendant, and we would say the defendant's name, with the crime of, and we insert the crime here. And for this example, we're going to say with the crime of driving under the influence in violation, and that he, in violation of a certain crimes code. So here in my example, it's 75 PA Consolidated Statutes Section 3802A. Okay, so there's a specific statute. Remember I said a violation of in a criminal case is a violation of a law that's been passed that said this behavior is prohibited. So within your mock trial packet, you're going to see an indictment, and it'll say that the grand jury is charging an individual with a certain violation of a certain law. And in that, they're going to say that they did something which is a violation of whatever law, okay? So for my example, it says the grand jury charges Derek Klepper with the crime of driving under the influence in that what did I do? Well, I've operated a motor vehicle after drinking enough alcohol to render me incapable of safe driving, a violation of the law in the Commonwealth. Okay, so that's what the indictment's going to say. You can't stop there. So for students, you look at that and you're like, okay, now I know what the official charge is against the defendant. I know who we're charging. This is an allegation that they've broken a law. But now we need to go somewhere else based on the indictment. We read the indictment. We understand what the charges are. But we go somewhere else in our mock trial packet. And you're going to go to your mock trial packet, and you're going to be provided with the statutes, right? The criminal statutes, the laws. And in your mock trial packet, there's going to be a law. Staying with my DUI example, I would have in my mock trial packet a copy of the Pennsylvania Motor Vehicle Law, Section 3802A. And in that, it would tell me in the packet what that law says. And in my hypothetical, it's saying that the law says a person may not operate a motor vehicle on a roadway after drinking enough alcohol to render them incapable of safe driving. Okay, so now we know what the charge is. Got charged with DUI. Now we know what the law says because it's in our packet. But there's other things that we need to know. And when we talk about formulating the legal theory of our case and the factual theory and a different later on, and when we talk about analyzing a statute, we're going to begin to take apart the statute and look for elements of the crime. Okay? So what are the elements of driving under the influence? Well, I would say an essential element to be guilty of driving under the influence would be operate. Next would be a motor vehicle. So a person must operate. They have to actually drive a motor vehicle, probably on a roadway, after drinking enough alcohol render them incapable, and maybe incapable here. So, on my checklist? What do I have to prove? Number one, my elements. I have to prove that somebody operated what? A motor vehicle on a roadway after they drank a certain amount of alcohol that caused them to be incapable of safe driving. Probably about 6 or 7 things that I have to prove. You're going to have similar things in your mock trial with a different law, not DUI. So now you've read the indictment, you know what the charges are. Now you're looking at the elements of the crime, right? What are the elements in your mock trial packet? Next thing you may have in your mock trial would be case law. What's the case law there for? The case law are cases heard by another court that helps us understand what this law that's been passed, what does it mean? And there's going to be some instructions in there that's going to help us understand certain things. So in my DUI example, we might have case law that says what a motor vehicle is, what it means to operate a motor vehicle, what is safe driving. So there might be case law that courts have looked at and they've helped us define what those things are. We might have it from there. The other thing in your mock trial packet that you're going to have that's going to help you understand the charges from the indictment is you have a vocabulary section. And in your vocabulary section, we get translations of words so that we have a common understanding of what they mean. What I did before I did this video is I went to the glossary and I looked at how your mock trial packet defines an indictment. And I looked it up and it said an official charge against the defendant. So now we're all using that same terminology. You don't have Derek Klepper's version of what an indictment is in Pennsylvania. You have what the mock trial, what is agreed to in the mock trial rules as to what our definitions are. So as you begin to examine the charges that are in your mock trial notebook, you're going to look at the glossary to see what words are in the alleged crime that's been committed, the statute. What words are in that statute? And are they in the glossary to help me understand what they mean? And you should begin to do that. The other thing that I think a lot of, over the years, a lot of people fail to do, and I want every team, the team at our campus and the team that we're going against, I want every team that's participating in this year's mock trial to understand this. And this is a huge secret that I'm about to tell you, that my friend says, if you're tuning in and out, tune back in right now, because you should tune in for this. The judge's instructions in the back of your mock trial notebook. The things that I'm telling you here, the violations of the law, things from case law and vocabulary, are also included here in the judge's instructions. And it's written in a way that if I was a judge and you were a juror and you were listening to me, I would be teaching this to you. I don't think it's too early right now in this process, because you're supposed to read through the whole mock trial notebook. You probably, by the time you got to the judge's instructions, you were a little fatigued and it was too much, and you just passed over the indictment, and now you're going, what are these judge's instructions? What do they mean? I think it's a good time to pause and take a moment to read the judge's instructions to the jury and understand what exactly this case is about. But I did want to talk to you about what the indictment is. It's the official charge against the defendant. In that, it's going to tell you what the allegation is, who they're charging you, so that we're all on the same page that with respect to this mock trial, we are, if you're on the prosecution, you're going to prosecute this person for a violation of this. And if you're on the defense role, your job is to try and defend the defendant against a prosecution for this crime. And when you look at what the crime says, based on the statute that you're given, the law, I really do want you to look at the wording and begin to examine those words and what do they mean with respect to case law and the vocabulary. I hope this is helpful for you to understand this part of the process and what the indictment is. Thank you, and have a great day.